Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today's question is, can I offer an update on the case of Kouri Richins, including the mysterious letter found in her jail cell? Just a reminder, I'm not diagnosing anybody in this video, only speculating about what could be happening in a situation like this. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and consider supporting me on Patreon. I'll put the link to Patreon in the description for this video. I'll start with a brief background of this case, offer an updated timeline of the alleged crime, then move to my analysis. Kouri Darden Richins was born on April 20, 1990, and lived in Utah. She had a master's degree and was a real estate agent. At some point, she met a man named Eric Richins. Eric was about 8 years older than Kouri. He owned 50% of a masonry business, which was quite successful. Eric had a net worth of about $3.6 million. Kouri and Eric married on June 15, 2013. On their wedding day, right before they were married, Kouri and Eric signed a prenuptial agreement. It sounds like this couple really understood how to make their wedding day even more special. A lot of people forget to enhance their special day with a notarized agreement to protect assets in case the wedding itself was a mistake. The agreement stated that if Kouri and Eric were to get divorced, all the assets from Eric's share of his business would remain in his possession. It didn't matter when the value had been obtained. So if the company increased in value after the wedding, Eric would be the only one who benefited. If Eric died while they were married, however, Eric's ownership interest in the business would transfer to Kouri. The couple lived in Kamas, Utah, which is about an hour east of Salt Lake City. They went on to have 3 sons and appeared to live a wealthy lifestyle. From 2015 to 2017, Kouri allegedly purchased at least 4 life insurance policies on her husband Eric. In March of 2019, Kouri allegedly opened a bank account with a revolving line of credit and borrowed $250,000. She allegedly forged her husband's signature to do this. In October 2020, Eric spoke to lawyers who specialized in estate planning and divorce. He placed his estate under the control of his sister. Eric transferred his partnership interest in his business to his trust and made the trust his beneficiary of a $500,000 life insurance policy. It appeared as though he was having some trust issues with his wife. In January 2022, Kouri updated Eric's life insurance policy to make herself the sole beneficiary. The insurance company notified Eric and his business partner, and they changed the policy back to the way it had been. Now moving to the timeline of the alleged crime. On March 4, 2022, at 3:22 a.m., Kouri Richins called 911 and reported that her husband was unresponsive. When the police arrived, they found Eric dead on the floor at the foot of his bed. Here is the story that Kouri supplied to the police. On March 3, at 9 p.m., a little over 6 hours earlier, Kouri and Eric consumed alcohol to celebrate a business deal. In the kitchen, Kouri prepared Eric a drink called a Moscow Mule, which is a cocktail made of vodka, ginger, beer, and lime juice. She brought the drink to the bedroom, and Eric consumed it. Not long after going to bed, Kouri visited the bedroom of one of her sons because he was having night terrors. She decided to sleep in that room. Kouri woke up at about 3 a.m. and went back into the bedroom where her husband was. Eric was cold to the touch, so Kouri called 911. Here's what the police found during their investigation. Eric died from a fentanyl overdose that had been administered orally. He had about 5 times the lethal dose in his system. Kouri claimed that she left her cell phone plugged in next to her bed and did not take it with her when she walked to her son's room. The next time she used it was to call 911. An analysis of the cell phone data from her phone revealed that during the time when Kouri claimed to be in her son's room, her phone locked and unlocked several times, moved around, and sent and received messages. These messages had been deleted. The police found communications between Kouri and a drug dealer named Carmen Lauber. Carmen told them that Kouri had asked for pain medication in late 2021 or early 2022. Not long after this, Kouri asked for something stronger. She specifically requested, quote, some of the Michael Jackson stuff, unquote. This was a reference to propofol, but Carmen sold her fentanyl instead. This was on February 11, 2022. 3 days later, on Valentine's Day, Eric became sick after eating a sandwich his wife had purchased for him. He told his business partner he thought his wife was trying to poison him. About 2 weeks after this alleged poisoning, Kouri purchased more fentanyl from Carmen. 6 days later, Eric Richins died from a fentanyl overdose. According to one of Eric's sisters, Eric was the victim of another suspicious poisoning after going on a trip with Kouri. He became ill after Kouri gave him a drink. Right before Eric died, he had been arguing with Kouri about a property that she wanted to purchase and resell. It was a $2 million, 22,000 square foot mansion. Kouri said that she and her husband were celebrating closing on that property the night he died, but family members told the police that Eric was not going to let his wife buy the property. The day after Eric died, Kouri closed the forbidden deal on the mansion. The investigators found some interesting searches on Kouri's cell phone. For example, can cops force you to do a lie detector test? Luxury prisons for the rich in America. Death certificate says pending. Will life insurance still pay? If someone is poisoned, what does it go down on the death certificate as? How to permanently delete information from an iPhone remotely? And what is the lethal dose of fentanyl? In February 2023, Kouri filed a claim against Eric's trust. On March 7, she self-published a 41-page book titled, Are You With Me? It was about a father who died and floats around like a ghost, encouraging his son. The book appears to be based on Kouri's own family situation. The book has been described as creepy and disturbing, which, considering its quality, is an overly positive evaluation. On May 8, 2023, Kouri Richins was arrested and charged with aggravated murder and 3 counts of possession of drugs with intent to distribute. She is facing 25 years to life in prison for the murder charge alone. On June 9, Kouri filed a lawsuit against Eric's estate, claiming that she deserved certain assets. Even while sitting in jail, Kouri is still looking for Eric's money. On one occasion, when Kouri was transported to a medical facility, the authorities searched her jail cell and found a folded 6-page letter inside of a book about the law. Based on the contents of the letter, the prosecution accused Kouri of engaging in witness tampering. Here is a summary of the letter. The letter was addressed to Kouri's mother, Lisa Darden. At the top of the first page, the words "walk the dog" appear in large letters, followed by 2 exclamation marks. Next to that are the words, "but take vague notes so you remember." This makes it seem as though "walk the dog" is code for "destroy this letter," kind of like a version of the phrase, "the dog ate my homework." In the body of the letter, Kouri claimed that her lawyer wanted to argue that Eric obtained the fentanyl that killed him in Mexico. Kouri said, quote, "So we need some kind of connection," unquote. She then explains a plan for her brother Ronnie to remember having a conversation with Eric. Here is the story that Ronnie needed to recall. A year before Eric died, Ronnie and Eric were watching football and talking about Eric's recent trip to Mexico. Eric told Ronnie that he obtained fentanyl from Mexico and not to tell Kouri because she would get mad. Ronnie never told Kouri about the conversation. Rather, Eric finally told her. Eric wanted to keep his drug use a secret. Kouri then went into this long explanation about how, when she and Eric would go to Mexico, he would stash the fentanyl he obtained there in her bag before boarding the airplane. Kouri wanted her brother Ronnie to tell her attorney about this memory. She invited Ronnie to reword his recollection as he desired, but she wanted every element to be included. The connection had to be made between Mexico and the drugs. Kouri ordered her mother to tell Ronnie not to overanalyze. She said, quote, "It was a quick 2-minute conversation, LOL. Tell him I need to do this. Bring me home and we will get those blank blanks," unquote. This was undoubtedly a reference to Eric's sisters, who Kouri does not like. Kouri wanted her mother to relay this message in person to her brother because she was worried that listening devices had been planted in her mother's house. She told her mother to have the conversation with Ronnie before he met with the lawyer. Kouri said, quote, "Take vague notes of all this so you remember before you walk the dog," unquote. Again, another reference to walking the dog, which only reinforces the idea that this was a code for destroy this letter. Kouri then went on this bizarre rant about how Eric's sisters were jealous of her and how she wanted certain people giving an interview to the media to talk about how Eric was a drug user. She also wanted her mother to give her attorney Crest white strips. Kouri believed that her attorney would not mind sneaking them to her, and Kouri could hide them in her jail cell. Kouri ended the letter by writing, quote, "Hang in there, we're getting there, slowly. You're the best mom in the whole world. I'm so lucky to have you," unquote. As I mentioned, prosecutors believed that this letter represented witness tampering. They argued that on September 13, Kouri held up another letter for her mother to read silently to herself. This letter was then destroyed or flushed down a toilet. It sounds like the letter shared the same fate as Kouri's defense. Now moving to my analysis. Here are my thoughts on a few areas that stood out to me in this case. Item number 1. In my first video about this case, I talked about how I thought Kouri was responsible for Eric's murder. This is just my opinion. The new evidence against her has not changed my opinion. I believe Kouri gave the fentanyl to Eric with the intent of killing him so she could get his money and purchase the mansion to resell it for profit. One could argue that Kouri wanted her husband to buy the farm so she could buy the mansion. Ultimately, her plan sort of worked. Kouri ended up in the big house. Item number 2. Do I think that Kouri's letter is evidence of witness tampering? In a recorded jailhouse conversation between Kouri and her mother on September 17, 2023, Kouri claimed that the letter wasn't written to her mother, but rather it was part of a mystery novel. The book is a fictionalized version of Kouri's own life. In the novel, Kouri was released from jail in June of 2023. Kouri said, quote, "I go to Mexico and am trying to find these drugs," unquote. She enters a Mexican prison and drinks a lot of coffee. This is why she needed the Crest white strips. Kouri said to her mother, quote, "You can tell the whole thing is very much a story," unquote. The novel was going to be titled To Hell and Back. Based on Kouri's writing skill, this would accurately describe the first-hand experience of anyone reading the book. Kouri's claim is impossible to believe. This is clearly an attempt to get her brother Ronnie to corroborate a story that she made up about her husband. During an interview with the media, Lisa Darden supplied a narrative that was similar to the instructions that were contained in Kouri's letter. Perhaps Kouri was effective in delivering her message. It doesn't make any sense that Kouri would be writing a novel about needing someone to remember that a murder victim was a drug user. Item number 3. What does this letter say about Kouri's personality and thought processes? This is just a theory, my opinion. Kouri appears to be lost in a fantasy world. She really believes that she is going to get out of prison someday. Furthermore, based on her search history, she thought that there were luxury prisons for rich people in the United States. Kouri believes that she can outsmart everyone with incredibly simplistic tactics. For example, she didn't think people would figure out the walk the dog code. She hid the letter in an envelope marked attorney privilege, like this was going to prevent law enforcement from opening it. And she thought people would believe her story about the letter being a novel. It sounds like Kouri is accustomed to getting people to do whatever she wants. She believed her attorney would be fine with sneaking her contraband in jail, and she thought her brother would be willing to remember a conversation to help her out. Kouri wants the world to stop and everyone to focus on helping her get out of prison. She appears to be vindictive, self-centered, arrogant, has a tremendous sense of entitlement, and is consumed with greed. She wanted the money that her husband had shielded from her. Nothing was going to stop her from getting it. She was always looking for an opportunity to obtain money. She benefited financially from the alleged murder, but that wasn't enough. She wrote a book on grieving to further profit from her husband's death. Now moving to my final thoughts. Eric Richins knew that his wife was trying to kill him, but he remained with her and even consumed items that she handed him. His gullibility only reinforced Kouri's confidence. Now she believes she can get away with anything. Kouri Richins may have been able to deceive and confuse her husband, but she has not had the same success manipulating everyone else. Kouri feels compelled to keep writing books. Maybe her next novel should be about a woman who gets convicted of murder due to greed, arrogance, and the compulsion to write novels. Those are my thoughts in the case of Kouri Richins. Please put any opinions and thoughts in the comment section. They always generate an interesting dialogue. As always, I hope you found my analysis of this topic to be informative. Thanks for watching.